The Alaska meeting between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin is likely to have a significant impact on the global economy. Now, the meeting is likely to have a bigger impact on financial markets than the week's macro data, including US inflation prints. Now, let's take a look at this next report to see what's at stake and how the global economy has fared since the Ukraine war.
Global supply chains have seen a big dent from the Ukraine war. The Alaska meeting takes enormous importance for the global economy as a result. If a ceasefire is agreed on, the war in Ukraine might come to a close. That would be a huge deal in terms of economic and market outlook. Instead of pouring resources into a deadly stalemate, nations could focus on rebuilding, especially in Europe. That's possible only if there is any agreement at all. There may not be, and the US is furiously downplaying expectations. As much as Trump wants to be seen as a peace broker, the US president has repeatedly said it is just a listening exercise. This also may be one of the few occasions where Trump's unpredictability is an asset. Amidst all the downplaying, there's a public warning of very severe consequences if no ceasefire agreement is reached. That could be devastating for the Russian economy. While the sanctions so far have had limited impact, the latest plans are more likely to hurt Moscow. Trump said his tariffs on India for its oil purchases had made the Alaska meeting even possible. While on the other hand, India has stood its ground and continued to buy Russian oil. So far since the Ukraine war in 2022, Russia's performance is a tale of two economies. According to the IMF, Russia's GDP slumped to minus 1.3% at the outset of the war, but has since recovered to 3.6% in each of the last 2 years. While Russia's defense industry has been running hot, its civilian sectors have taken a huge hit. Moscow has been hit by falling oil revenues and Western sanctions. The budget deficit has exploded. The war in Ukraine is beginning to take its toll on the Russian economy, with projections pointing to a weak outlook. On the other side, Trump's economic broadsides are starting to show on the real economy with a lag. The latest job numbers suggest a slowing economy, while inflation prints are starting to reflect a tariff-driven price rise. Beyond the direct economic impact, global supply chains and trade flows will be driven by what happens at the meeting. Whatever happens next feeds into the deep change of geopolitics and economics that is sweeping the world. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And with no summit deal reached with Putin over ending the war in Ukraine, WION spoke with analysts to weigh in on what they make of the Alaska summit. Listen in.
I think that it was great that the meeting occurred. There were a lot of people who tried to sabotage it, who were hoping and praying that it was going to be a failure. Clearly, the signal that it had been a failure would be Trump addressing the press by himself. Well, that didn't happen. So it was not a failure in that way. However, there were no details. They talked about agreeing on so many topics, and the only thing that we heard any agreement on was that if Trump had been president in 2022 instead of Biden, that it wouldn't have started in the first place. So they said they had agreements. They said it was friendly. They seemed friendly. They talked a little bit about potential economic deals. They didn't hardly spoke at all about a ceasefire or peace in the war. So, Trump is going to have his phone conversations now with the heads of NATO and the coalition of the willing and others. Maybe something will come out of that, but we did not get any substance whatsoever.